call the regular meeting of tonight's Wednesday, February 25th, 2026 General Council meeting to order. We will have to vary the agenda slightly as the mayor is not present tonight. Councillor Rabble or Councillor Johnson, do you have a motion?
I'm so moved that council appoint Councillor Wall as acting mayor for the duration of the February 25th, 2026 regular meeting and closed meeting.
Second. All in favor? Or discussion, I guess? No? All in favor? Okay. Unanimously carried. Next item, adoption of the agenda. I would like to...
we should do this.
Want me to?
No.
Okay. I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered today on Treaty 8 First Nations territory, the long-standing presence of the elders, ancestors of Treaty 8, and the elders of Puskupi as well. Through this acknowledgement, we extend our recognition and respect to all those who call the Peace Country home. Okay. Adoption of the agenda. Anyone want to second the adoption of the agenda?
Council adopt the February 25th, 2026 regular council meeting agenda.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Adoption of minutes. I would like to recommend that we table the minutes as Councillor Rabble and I were not present for the last meeting.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous and carried. Introduction of late items, none. Public hearings, none. Delegations, none. Unfinished business and business arising from the minutes.
The council received the report for information regarding the NCLGA resolutions.
I'll second that. Discussion.
Mr. Maltz?
Acting Mayor Wall, yeah, this is an item that we had, I think, on the last agenda. Council had two members that were away and elected to bring it back at a later date, just to give a little bit more time to reflect on items that you wish to flag for NCLGA. If you guys do wish for staff to craft some resolutions for submission to NCLGA, feel welcome to offer some general topics, and we can bring that back for you before the submission deadline, which is March 13th. There's still an opportunity to get another kick at the can for you guys to approve the final thing.
Perfect. Councillor Rebel?
So we've got kind of one in the works for the Library Act. Are there any ones on the docket? And then, are there other ones on the docket? And then what are we thinking? Do we have to throw our suggestions by next council meeting?
Go ahead. Yeah, Acting Mayor Wall, it would be helpful if there were things that you folks wanted us to draft. It would be helpful if you could let us know what those topics were, and then we can bring you back suggestions at the next meeting. If we tried to do it on February 11th, we'd be kind of crossing our fingers that everything was all good, right? And there was no wordsmithing needed. So
We could email those in as well, couldn't we?
yeah, you could, and then we could throw them on the agenda. The challenge there would be hoping that everything would be good for the 11th. So up to you guys.
Councillor Rabble?
I know that there had been discussion in the past regarding the extraordinary resolution presented at UBCM in regards to essentially committees. There's a central committee that kind of decides what's coming and what's not. And we had some back and forth. We've sent some letters, and I'm wondering where that work stands in regards to maybe a counter resolution to the extraordinary resolution, or where that kind of landed. I understand that it was kind of a back and forth, and they're kind of saying, hey, we're sticking with it. It was a majority rule at the conference, the convention, and although smaller municipalities like ourselves are rather concerned about our specific motions or specific resolutions being thrown by the wayside in favor of larger municipalities with more folks on their various committees. So I'm just curious as to if we should approach and continue an approach with a counter resolution to the extraordinary resolution in continuation of the work previously done.
Mr. Malcolm?
Thank you, Acting Mayor Wall. I think there have been some suggestions brought about ER1 from other communities in the Northeast. I'm not sure if they're Fort St. John or the RV, but I think there might be efforts ongoing on that. So if you folks want to flag it as a topic, I can do some more digging and see who's got that on the go, and maybe it's a co-sponsorship or a support that you guys put behind that. Councillor Rappel's comments about the replies back from UBCM on that topic are a bit line with my memory. Basically, it was a majority rule. We're going to use this sparingly. We're not going to use it to abuse or override rural interests, but the concern from the village remains, right?
The track record stands, yeah. Fair enough. Councillor Rabel?
In response to staff's report or discussion on this matter, I would like to suggest that staff continue to work with the Library Act Amendment resolution and then also with the response to ER1 if we can work collaboratively with the local area, kind of see what the playing field is for that. And I know that we have discussed some Library Act stuff in the past, but I don't know if there's other pieces. I think those are two solid ones, and I think the mayor also had some other ones as well. Okay. So I think we should be able to give comment. I think that would be the time.
Great. Sounds good. Any other discussion on that before I go ahead with the Library Act conversation that we continue on with that we previously had, Councillor Johnston and Councillor Rappel? Okay. I would like to propose, I make the motion to go ahead with a resolution written for the NCLGA, whereas Section 5 of the Library Act restricts municipal library board appointments to residents or electors of the appointing municipality, and whereas many municipal libraries are funded and provide services to surrounding rural areas through regional district service agreements, yet these regional residents are currently excluded from board eligibility despite meeting all other criteria for elected local government offices. Therefore, be resolved that the NCLGA and UBCM lobby the provincial government of British Columbia to amend the Library Act to align municipal library board eligibility with the candidate eligibility requirements for under the Local Government Act. Seconder?
I so second.
Rabel. Discussion? Mr. Malkinson?
Acting Mayor, this was a topic the council already asked for, and I think the principle that's included in that resolution there is basically if somebody is eligible to run for mayor in Moose, then they should also be eligible to seek nomination as a library board member in Moose.
And I know that's something we've had quite some challenges with, is filling our library board because of the term of the appointments and term limits and things like that. There's only so many people that can do so many things, so. Councillor Rabel?
I have worked with the library board, Mayor Beach has also worked with the library board, and over the years what we've noticed is, because currently the way the Library Act is set up is you have to be a resident within the municipal boundary to be on the municipal library board, we have extreme difficulty with having enough board members to be on the board, so we're always we've found ourselves in quite a tight spot where actually it's almost in a deadlock. But the other theory here is, not only does the library serve the village, it also serves the surrounding area, like Area D. Even folks from Dawson come and use it as per various litany of regional agreements. But why I feel it's important that we move ahead with this is there are folks in the surrounding area that utilize these services, and I think it's better if we have availability on this board. I think it's the only board in the municipality that actually you have to live just within the municipality. All the other boards are relatively within the surrounding area. So anyways, I believe this is a good approach.
Well, we're also not the only municipality that I know that has been dealing with the same issue. So we might get some broader support at the NCLGA and we'll see where it goes with UBCM. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor of that resolution? Unanimous and carried. Going on to new business.
Beg your pardon,
Go ahead.
Acting Mayor Wall. I'm not sure that we had a resolution on the NCLGA for ER1. Do you want me to bring you back to the board at the next meeting with a suggested resolution?
I would appreciate that.
Okay, for sure.
Councillor Ralph,
Do we require a motion?
do we require a motion for that?
Be nice.
Go ahead.
I so move that as per the
Oh, sorry, sir. The recommendation here is council received the report of information. The council directs staff to prepare an NCLGA resolution on basically ER1.
Yes, that council directs staff to prepare a report on ER1 and work collaboratively with other municipalities responding similarly. Yep.
Second by Councillor Johnston. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried unanimously.
Thank you.
There you go. Apologies about that. Number 9.1, who's gonna go for that?
Recommendation, option one, the council directs staff to proceed with the Village Office Park Phase 1 implementation in 2026 at the cost of $250,629.30, including GST. And further, that staff be directed to apply for the Cal Tire Replay Fund Grant by February 28, 2026. And that upon notification from the NDIP Community Places and Cal Tire Replay Grant, that the balance of the quoted figure be funded through Growing Communities funds, and further, the staff be authorized to enter into the contracts for the work, subject to final pricing confirmation.
Can I get a seconder?
I'll second to bring to the floor.
Discussion? Councilor Ravel?
So I seconded it to bring it to the floor because I think that we've had a lot of discussions with the office park. I don't know if option one is our best option. We do have option two, and we do have option three to stretch it out into the future. Firstly, I'd like to, through you, Chair, ask to staff where we kind of sit with this. What's our risk with this? So option one's preparing for a worst case scenario where we don't get these grants. Option two is best case scenario where we do go with these grants. And then also there might be other potential avenues we can take. I've heard of such things as tire drives in the past. There's certain companies that are willing to fund these kind of projects for the padding and whatnot. What is the likelihood of option two being viable? Is my question. Through you, Chair.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Wall. The delineation between option one and, or basically to sum up option one, it is basically structured as here's the playground and the PIP rubber surfacing quote, totaling $250,000. And option two consists of just the playground and directs staff to investigate alternative surfacing because the PIP rubber surface came in to be a fairly high portion of the quoted figure. I think it was about $107,000 that it was estimated at. So to contrast that with the scenarios that are included in the report itself, there's an optimistic scenario where the village is successful with the grant applications that have been made so far and are requested in this report. And the pessimistic scenario says, okay, well, if the village is unsuccessful with the Cal Tire Replay Fund grant, is unsuccessful with NDIT Community Places, then the draw from the Growing Communities funds, the Growing Community Fund grant that the village has, would be higher to see the village through that work. So basically, option one is a little bit fancier, and option two is direct staff to investigate a lower cost option, like a wood chip option or some kind of alternative surfacing. There's accessibility concerns that might come along with the wood chips. Yeah, the idea I think behind the pit rubber surfacing was to allow folks in wheelchairs to access. It's not necessarily that there aren't other alternatives, but I just don't have that information for you guys.
To staff, I have a follow-up question to that. Regarding our budget for the fiscal year 2026, which of these two options was presented in our budget presentation?
I think we had 155 from Growing Communities funds that was assumed in the scenarios that we had there. However, there's, like I say, there's a fairly decent proportion of grants and donations that are aimed to offset that amount there. So in the optimistic scenario, your budgeted figure or the amount that's included in your budget materials is realized, whereas if there's a pessimistic scenario where we're not successful with the grants, Growing Communities will need to be higher. So yes, it is contemplated, but in the optimistic scenario that we have here.
Okay, so we've budgeted for option two then, with the lower draw from reserve.
Yeah, you could make that argument. Yeah. You could also argue that option one is budgeted, but there's a higher risk assumption by council.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Interesting. Councilor Ravel.
The motion on the floor is for option one. So I'm in favor of option 2. I'll be frank about it. I'll be direct about it. I think we should explore other options, other quotings, seek a lower amount, and then seek a lower cost on the taxpayer, but also explore these grants and explore additional grants if possible. I know that there were some various asphalt companies, other companies of that nature, that do this kind of work and have done this work in BC with tires. They do tire drives. I don't know, what that looks like, but I've heard of such things. So I think we should move towards option 2. I don't know if that requires the current motion on the floor to fail for us to explore option 2, but I'm in favor of option 2.
All right.
Yeah, I would recommend that you guys defeat option 1 and move to option 2 if you wanted to do that. If there are referrals on, additional programs to seek, we're happy to take those leads. I'm not super, we're a little bit ahead of the curve. We've got a little bit of time towards summer right now. The quote, that's
also an option.
The quote that's been provided has about 15 days left in the pricing, so this may change the pricing that ends up coming back. Hard to say whether or not that would greatly impact whether or not you guys have different whether that changes the financial picture that's included in it. As well, we're doing okay for prep for the summer right now, but one thing to be conscious of as we get closer to the summer is we're kind of in project readiness mode. I'm trying to get stuff out of my office and make sure that they're ready the team is ready to tee things up. So yeah, I'm very happy to chase more grants or see what else is possible, but basically option 2 says we're interested in the less fancy version and come back to us with alternatives to the rubber surfacing.
Well, if we did go with option 2, that still leaves us the opportunity to build the playground, and we get the options for the surfacing, and we might go back to that regular rubber surfacing.
Yeah, we can go back to that rubber.
But we just have multiple options to see where the price points are.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not trying to throw up barriers, but I'm just trying to identify, trying to walk you through it.
Because we can always go back to the rubber.
Because the surface is the last thing that's going to go in anyways. Right? Okay, Councilor Rabble, last one.
So, it's good. So, I also want to make sure that staff's empowered to still apply for these grants. I don't think that they've been empowered previously, but it'd be nice to see that our council tonight empowers staff to apply for these grants regardless. I think that's a good option.
So replay is included in option 2, or there's a recommendation for replay in option 2. Council has already authorized the application to the NDIT grant for $30,000 as well. Check back from the south.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I just drove back today. Good to see you, Chad. So there's that is included in option 2. If there are alternative grants, if I'm not sure the tire option that you're talking about, if you want us to chase that, that's not included in the recommendation that's here.
I'll look into it and pass along, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if we go with option 2, that doesn't stop us in the future doesn't stop us from beginning construction on the playground, and it doesn't stop us from eventually going back to that rubber surface when the time comes. We just have multiple options to look at for what type of surfacing would be most cost effective.
Yes, there's one word in this option 2 that will change based on what you're saying, and that's council direct staff to proceed with the lower quoted cost for playground works, Village Office Parks Phase 1. So if you guys tell us to go, then we'll go, and we'll bring back surfacing at a later date.
Okay, that's how I'll make the motion if this one does not pass. Okay, I'll call the question on option 1. All in favor? Seeing none, all opposed?
Nay.
That's unanimously opposed. So I'll read option 2. I will change the word to proceed with, so we're not pushing this any further down the road than we have to.
Appreciate that.
That council directs staff to proceed with a lower quoted cost for playground works for the Village Office Park Phase 1 implementation in 2026 at a cost of $142,641.98, including GST, and further that staff be directed to apply for the Cal Tire Replay Fund grant by February 28th of 2026, and that upon notification from NDIT Community Places and Cal Tire Replay grants, that the balance of the quoted figure be funded through the Growing Communities funds, and further that staff be authorized to enter into contracts for the work subject to final pricing and confirmation. Seconded by Councillor Johnston. Discussion? we talked about it, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
That's just what I was thinking.
I'm ready.
Have fun building it.
Thank you, Acting Mayor.
That's right. Okay. 9.2.
That council received the tree planting update report for information, and that council authorized the expenditure up to $8,000 from the tree program budget to facilitate the removal of hazardous trees along 50th Street. And further, that council approved an additional $5,000 expense for the 2026 tree program to be funded by the general government contingency funds. And further, that the village proceed with the 50th Street and Bissett Drive replanting project upon the successful award of the Tremendous Communities and BC Hydro Community Vegetation Grants.
I'll second.
Tremendous.
Councilor Johnson second. There we go. I have a couple things to say about this one. I know it's not a very popular project with some of the residents in the community. Cut down the trees. Unfortunately, this is a project that has to go ahead because of BC Hydro. So they're doing line work on there, and the way those current trees are is that every year they grow into the lines, and it costs quite a bit to cut them back, and they end up dying, or it's not a great situation. But with this grant, unfortunately, it might take a few years for those trees to end up back at the size they are now. But we will be replanting with trees that will grow up and out instead of straight up into the power lines. Is the intention, I believe.
That's correct.
That's correct. Perfect. So the trees are gone for now if this is successful. However, they won't be gone forever. I do have one question though. Are we sure that the maple trees that they're suggesting we use in here are going to actually survive our winters?
Thank you, Your Worship, for the question. That's something that Chad and I went back and forth on.
March should be good.
We stressed each other out about this pretty good. But yeah, the amber maple is rated for this climate, and there are a few examples of amber maple in the area that make it through the winter every year.
A few examples, or they all survive the winter every year?
Yeah.
Chapman, I believe, was one that we referenced,
Chapman,
that they planted some.
Oh, they did? Yes.
But they were shaded by the poplars, but I do have, had 2 oak trees. They do grow very slowly.
Very slowly. Another 50 years.
Yeah.
Well, they were there 50 years.
We did get pricing. We had to get pricing to secure the grant application for, well, both the grant applications in here, Tremendous Communities and BC Hydro. And there was a nursery out of, I think just out of Beaver Lodge that we reached out to, and they have amber maple in stock, and they said that it's suitable for the area. It's not my area of expertise, I gotta be honest, but people smarter than me think it's an okay idea.
Rebel?
This is work that we can do in-house. It seems like that's mentioned. That's, it's governed in their OHS regulation, but this is work that can be done within the village's staff, eh?
We'll do our darndest. Basically the OHS conversation, is important to note. Basically, that's in there to demonstrate to council that we are trying to drive value on the quoted costs in this project, but we also want to make sure that we're able to remove those fairly promptly, especially if we see hazards exacerbate, because one of the residents nearby has kind of been really putting pressure on to have those trees removed because they've been seeing branches fall down, stuff like that. So we want to make sure that we have the option to play it safe if those trees are determined to be hazardous, but if there's no issues present with them, then we'll make efforts to tear them down ourselves or find alternative pricing to make sure that the budget's low.
I have one more question. Regarding the trees that we'll be replacing with, as per this program, are the root systems of the amber maple going to end up having the same issues we've been having with current trees, where they tap into our sewer system or things like that?
So no guarantees in life, but my understanding is that this is a much better tree for that. It's got a broader canopy that doesn't quite hit the height of the power lines, and yes, apparently the root system is fairly narrow.
One of the things I, doing some research on, we actually did some research and checked with the vicinity of the sidewalk as well, and it sounds like they're suitable for in that tight spaces and stuff like that with fencing and sidewalks in the present area as well. So.
I'm sure it'll be pretty.
Well, that's the idea. It's a beautiful street. It's long been a beautiful street, and I think this program is to hopefully restore it to that state.
In the long term, it might not look like that like this summer, but we'll see.
We'll get there.
Go ahead, last comment on the trees.
So, of course, we want to be cognizant of the trees and, you know, within the certain realm, within their, you know, the tree box, the root ball isn't too large and it penetrates infrastructure, and we want to make sure the canopy doesn't impact future power lines and the current power lines. In the past, so it seems like the village is having to fund this current phase of the hazardous tree removal, where in the past, BC Hydro covered the cost by hiring an external contractor. So are we simply continuing with this realization that we should look at hazardous trees, and these are trees that are maybe not to do with the power lines, but just generally within the community? What's the change here? You know, BC Hydro, you know, paid for the tree removal previously through a third party, but now it seems like, it looks like the taxpayers funding additional tree removal. What's the impetus for the situation?
Acting Mayor Wall, my understanding is that these ones across the street were flagged because of proximity to the line. These ones are more being flagged because of their age by us, and to actually do a full job on refurbishing the street. But I'm trying to remember, are they proximate? There's been a number of branches trimmed, but
I believe there's only one adjacent to the alley here that's actually within proximity. There is no actual power lines that run down the east side of the street. So the trees we're talking about removing now are the trees that run east on that street.
On the other side of the
The power lines were all on the west. That's why they removed those trees on the west, and BC Hydro funded that.
If I recall correctly, correct me if I'm wrong here, we've got the Public Works Director here, but I believe the trees on the one side of the street were growing into the power lines and needed maintenance almost every year, and the ones on the other side, their root systems were tapping into the sewer line.
Correct, and now they're starting to, we've seen some branches breaking off here in the last year or so. And like CEO said here earlier, we have had a resident reach out here in the last couple of weeks and notify us of some branches breaking off inside their yard. So.
All right. Okay.
Brilliant job.
I will call the question on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous and carried.
get to work number 2.
There we go. I do have a question before we go to 9.3. How much are they asking for?
The Pooskookie Museum?
Yeah.
It's 55. I'll pull it up 1 second.
Because I've looked through it and I have a hard time finding exactly.
I think it's 57 or
It's
63.
the bottom line. Funds requested from Village of Poos, 2026 estimate, 55,754, 1 penny. The 2025 estimate is 57,654.96. They're down a little bit. Overall.
All right, we'll go to 9.3 then. Thank you.
Recommend the council receives the 2026 grant request and budget submission from the Pooskookie Museum, and further, the council authorize a grant of $55,754.01 for the 2026 for inclusion in the village financial plan.
Second.
Discussion? Councilor Rabble?
The museum does good work, and I'd like to see that work continue. It sounds like they're asking for effectively $10,000 less, well, $7,000 to $10,000 less than last year, if I'm understanding this correctly.
Is that correct?
I thought it was so there's 2 ways a person could read this, but I don't want to say without my dear friend Josh being here. So I'm suspecting that it was the 2025 estimate, because that's probably what would drive it, but funds received from Village of Pooskookie actual. Like that's the more definitive figure, but I don't know why we would have granted more than the estimate that they had in the last year, so I'll have to kick that out to Josh.
The number they say they need.
And this is budget for in our financial plan?
Last year's amount we budgeted for. So there's a savings of either the actual from last year or the estimate from last year. So it's either 2,000 or 10,000.
In savings. Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous and carried. Policy Development and Review 9.4, that council repeal policy 2.1, office services.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And 2, that council repeal policy 2.3, service charges for NSF payments. Councilor Johnson. Discussion?
Your worship, the only item here that I just wanted to flag for the recording is just these items are slated for repeal due to their subsequent inclusion in the fees and charges bylaw. They're just covered off elsewhere in the village's records or rules. So.
Housekeeping.
Yes.
All right. Seeing no more discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous and carried. Resolutions, we don't have any. Correspondence, none. Bylaws, 12.1. Take that away, Councilor Rabble.
That council read the revitalization tax exemption program bylaw number 1087, 2026 for a first time.
I'll second that. Discussion. Councilor Rabble.
All right, so I appreciate staff's work and the economic development officer's work on this. This is wonderful. We've had a lot of discussions about this. The piece that, so there's two pieces that I'd like to inquire about. Of course, we're relying on BC Assessment to conduct an assessment of the property and have that reflected. My interpretation of the bylaw as it stands is the property owner will have to pay the full new increased tax burden resultant of the improvements, and then only after the application and $100 application fee, which is non-refundable, then in the next year, if this tax exemption, revitalization tax exemption is granted, then be able to claim or receive the 100%. So they've got to endure 1 year of full increased tax burden, is my understanding. Is there a workaround to have them not have that happen in the first year? I understand we need to see it realized in the assessment roll, but is there some, how do we prevent that? How do we prevent the property owner from not having to endure the first year at the full increased burden after investing this capital into their property for the improvement of their property and for the enjoyment of the community?
Mr. Malkinson.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Well, there is a way to do it, but the way to do it would be to expose the village to risk to its tax roll. That's the challenge. So we did, draft the bylaw fairly defensively in the sense that, the bylaw is founded on the basis of increases in assessed values, within the village that exceed a certain threshold. Will qualify individuals for receiving a commensurate break on that, increase in assessed value. If there is a different basis for determining it, which I believe is permitted by legislation, then the village is potentially going to eat it if that value isn't realized later down the line. So you'd probably be in a position where you'd say, okay, maybe we can receive receipts, for actual work incurred for a property that would qualify a person for an exemption. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to translate into a net increase in assessed value on that property. That's kind of the unfortunate thing about the timing between those things.
In layman's terms, just so I understood what you just said, that means we can't see a tax, well, we can't give someone a tax reduction for an improvement on their property if the taxable value of their property has not increased through the assessment.
Yes, because the assessment,
Okay.
the assessment is intrinsically tied to, sorry, I'm not a succinct guy.
Sound like a lawyer.
Oh, it's a skill to say things simply, right? But basically it's intrinsic to the assessed value to, give the exemption.
We can't give a reduction in the increase if we don't originally see the increase.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Well, then to clarify the timing, what is the scenario where, okay, so let's say 2025 or 2026, somebody does improvements. Right now, boom, somebody throws $20,000 into their property.
Yeah.
When does, I guess, BC Assessment then will do their assessment and have those completed to the roll by January 31st, right?
Yeah.
So that you have the opportunity to appeal by, I think, the end of March or April or something. But then taxes are not due until July 1st of that year. So would the village not have that space between, January 31st and July 1st to say that, hey, these improvements have been realized on the tax roll? I'm curious about that time.
I like where Councillor Ross is going with this. The unfortunate thing about revitalization tax exemptions particularly is that there's also a deadline to notify BC Assessment annually, which is October 31st of each year, to give them enough time to adjust their rule.
Oh, because I'd be filing an appeal for BC assessment to assess the property.
It's prior to appeal, it's basically just, they're adjusting the folio before the assessment is actually given per year.
That makes sense. Councilor Howard?
So hypothetically, there could be the scenario where a property owner improves their property prior to October 31st, that's then realized by the January 31st deadline, that then can be, paid for by July 1st, right? Like that could actually happen though. But it seems like this bylaw is waiting for that to drop, and then the following year is when you get the 100% reduction upon successful approval and agreement.
So the verification has to come after the exemption is granted, or verification comes and then the exemption is granted.
Yeah. Verification first.
I would like to see it so that the property owner doesn't have to endure that additional tax burden right after they've just spent the money. I would like to see an option in this bylaw for that somehow. I really would. I know it's really tough. I don't know what the hell that would even be, but
I don't know if you can do that.
You can direct us to look into it. I think you're exposing yourself to losing tax revenue on it if you do it. But
I think the big thing here, Councilor Rabel, is we can't reduce their tax burden without, on the increase of their assessment without realizing the increase in the assessment.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
what I would like to see, so item 12.1, under Schedule A for the agreement for the revitalization tax exemption, under term number 3, we've got commenced page 6 of 9 of document 12.1. So on number 3, that's when it's specifying in no uncertain terms that it's January 1st of the year following the year when eligible improvements are recognized on the BC assessment roll and expire on December 31st of the final year of the exemption term. So I think that if we could adjust that wording to, we need to protect the village from somebody, we don't want to go into an agreement where we say, yes, your roll will increase 12,000 or 20,000, whatever, then we're on the hook for that increase. But I think that wording specifically in that paragraph could be adjusted to allow the scenario where a very keen property owner could see that assessment increase realized within the year and still not have that taxation burden. I think that is my hang-up, is that particular paragraph. I'm wondering if we could adjust that somewhat.
So are you suggesting that the term of the tax exemption will commence instead of on January 1st of the year following, which the eligible improvements, we say that the tax exemption will commence on October 31st, which is the BC assessment deadline of the year of? Because it's not very likely that people are going to be renovating in the winter.
verification doesn't go on, it's not obtained the same day that we send the info to BC assessment. October 31 is the day, our deadline to send that info to BC assessment. Jan 1 is basically the year after, it's referring to tax years here. That's the idea.
Yeah. Any more discussion, Councilor Rabel, before I call the question? We can either keep that paragraph as is or change it. Do you want it changed?
I would like to see it changed, if I may. It would have to be, the term of the tax exemption, it would still have to be January 1st in the year, following the year of the eligible improvements are recognized on the roll, and there could be an or situation where it's in the,
Or sooner?
I would like to see an option for it to be realized more immediately.
On or prior to January 1st?
On or prior to January
Yeah.
1? On or prior to January 1 of the year, actually. I mean, there's not a day before January 1st.
No.
Right?
No,
It's
yes,
the
there
first
is.
day.
Because that's, you get taxed for the year. I think we're stuck as is.
Yeah, I think it's.
I get it, I empathize. It's kind of, it's an annoying quirk of the program, but unless you guys want to risk your general municipal tax, again, it's not crazy.
It's either a pain in the ass or a pain in the butt for the applicant or our staff or both.
Unless I want to risk eating it, then that's just an unfortunate feature of the program. You just need to verify before you offer the exemption.
Fair enough. Okay, I'm gonna call the question, or Councilor Rabel, one last.
I would throw an or at the end, or if realized within the tax year, or something like that. I seriously wonder if that's possible.
Or at the end of what, sorry?
On paragraph 3, under term, if we could throw an or, like to kind of tie it together. So it's following year, or, which, following year and eligible, or if eligible improvements are recognized within the year. Something like that. Like, that's what I would pursue. I apologize that I didn't prepare the particular wording in advance.
No, that's not.
So you wanna add it, okay, that makes sense.
Because the burden of proof is on the property owner to approach the village to enter into this agreement. If the property owner can prove that the increased valuation has been realized on their property roll, then they're able to present it to the village in moving forward with this agreement.
Yeah.
So as long as the village can, consult with the property owner and the property owner can justify that if it's been realized and they can prove it, why not give them the exemption? That's what I'd like to see. I don't know what that wording looks like, but that's what I'd like to
You
see.
just said it, it's the inclusion of the word or after year, I'll second that.
Or after year?
Yeah. So
Or
January 1,
or
the
in
year
which-
in the following year, or
In which the
eligible
eligible
improvements are realized, VC second rule.
I think I know what you guys are trying to say. My fear is that it's not like mechanically possible, but if you guys want me to take it back, I can try to take it back and see if there's a way to cover it off, or see if there's any kind of way that we can do this sooner. We did keep that in mind as we were drafting.
Mhm.
Like, this was something that was flagged by Josh, saying, oh shoot, this is an unfortunate thing
Mhm.
to work, but there wasn't a way that we could see that we could work around it. And this is not, all that to say is paragraph 3 is not an arbitrary, or in my opinion, an unnecessary barrier. It's something that's probably as fast as we could possibly do it. But if you guys want me to take it back, I'm happy to take it back and see if there's a way. I don't see it right now, but we're gonna make that shot.
I'm gonna rescind my second that.
There wasn't. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna call the question on the revitalization tax exemption bylaw reading number 1. Oh, what do you mean?
Can we,
Go ahead.
I apologize, Chair. Can we put this to staff to see what possible scenarios we can do for adjustments so that immediacy, like time is of the essence. So I'm wondering if we can send this back to staff so that this isn't defeated and it doesn't kill the whole bylaw right now.
Would you like staff to look into it? Would you like to make a motion
I
that
make-
staff look into it?
I make the motion that staff investigate alternatives so that the increase in improvements as they're realized cannot, the burden of the increase in taxation isn't borne by the property owner in the year. Anyways, we've had the discussion about this. I apologize for my lack of clarity in this. I just don't want to see somebody put in a bunch of money into something and then have to pay higher taxes just to receive a decrease on the other side. I don't think that's how we get people encouraged into moving forward with this program.
There needs to be a change in there.
I apologize, Chair. The motion would be that staff look into adjustments necessary to ensure that, to give an option for property owners to realize the tax exemption in the first year.
And would you like that to be brought back at the next regular meeting?
I'll do my best, for sure. I don't know if you guys are gonna be, just to set expectations, I don't know that you'll be super happy with the report I write,
Okay.
but I'll do my darndest, and, we'll put our heads together and see if we can make that.
We might just end up back where we're at.
You very well may. That's what I predict, but I don't wanna, be a negative Nelly to your suggestion. It's fair.
All right, I'll second that to bring it back, when staff can. Discussion on bringing it back. All in favor? And opposed? Would you like your opposed noted, Councilor Johnston?
No.
Okay,
Are there other suggestions you guys have on the bylaw at this time? Like, as if we're gonna bring it back at a later date, it would be kinda nice to make sure we're, getting
I thought it was a very well-written bylaw.
There's one typo that Mayor Beach pointed out a couple of
Oh,
days
at the
ago.
end, the signatories, I think it says corporate officer twice.
Sure, but we can fix that. There was one that is a 2B that I thought it was on, yeah, here it is. So it's section 7 of the bylaw. It says owners are strongly encouraged to B submit, so we would just strike B, to submit applications prior to issuance of building.
I'll make the motion to fix the typo.
We'll fix it when we bring it back to you, yeah. Okay, so just flagging it and just trying to make you guys feel comfortable to, offer suggestions. Now's a wonderful time to offer suggestions if we're gonna be bringing it back later.
All right, I think that's it. So we've tabled the readings of the bylaw.
Majority of members present.
Yeah, majority of members present, that's correct. And now I've flipped through the bylaw so much, I don't know where we're at in the agenda.
We're at 12-2.
Would you like to read that?
Recommend the council adopt the election and assent voting bylaw number 1088/2026.
Second.
Second by Councilor Rabble. Discussion? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor?
Okay.
12.3, Financial Plan Amendment Bylaw 1089/2026. I recommend that 2025 to 2029 Financial Plan Amendment Bylaw number 1089/2026 be read for the first time. Can I get a seconder? Councilor Johnston. Discussion? Councilor Rabble.
This was just an adjustment to put in the property purchase next to the public works yard into the budget that is currently being exercised. Am I correct in that?
I believe so, and I believe that was also a part of the presentation to the public.
Yes, so this is the first phase of the phase purchase being recorded in 2025. So council did authorize this. Your council is legislatively required to make sure that the budget is balanced. So we're basically, even after the year, just amending to make sure that everything balances.
We're balancing the account back.
Yes. There was a little bit of, I apologize for the delay on this. Josh did want to verify basically that there were no further variances to the actual expenses that exceeded any of the categories you had in your prior bylaw. And it looks like everything's shaping up fairly well for 25.
So just to be clear, this is, we had to take some money out of this account to purchase the property, and now we're just topping it back up to where it should be.
137,500. That's
There we go. Perfect. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I call the question on the first reading. All in favor? Unanimous and carried. Second reading.
2025 to 2029 Financial Plan Amendment Bylaw number 1089/2026 be read a second time.
Second.
Second by Councilor Rabble. Discussion? All in favor? Unanimous and carried. Councilor Rabble, do you want to read the third time?
That the 2025 to 2029 Financial Plan Amendment Bylaw number 1089/2026 be read for a third time.
Seconded by Councilor Johnston. Discussion? All in favor? Unanimous and carried. Administration reports. Councilor Johnston, what have you been up to?
I've been sick for a week. Yeah, I actually missed 3 days of work last week, staying home in bed. It was pretty sad. So other than that,
Special meeting.
Yes, I did. That is correct. Other than that, I had nothing else.
Fair enough. Councilor Rabble, what have you been up to?
All right, thank you very much. I was away for a period of time. I attended the special meeting remotely, which was the document to present to the public regarding our budget. And then yesterday evening, we had a wonderful presentation to the public for public consultation regarding our budget. And I appreciate staff. I thank staff for their time in preparing that. And I do thank the members of the public that showed up and then attended remotely. And then also that's available, I assume, for public viewing electronically going forward. It's always good to have public engagement in this process. We're presenting the budget that we've got. We'd like to continue investing in our infrastructure. But other than that, yes, attending various obligations with this council.
It's me. I attended the special meeting. That went well. Last night we did the public budget workshop. I really hope that we have more people come, but I do believe that we're mailing out a copy of the handout we gave out last night to the 2 people that showed up to the entire village. So hopefully people will look at that. And what is the time frame on that, Mr. Malkinson, for people to bring back their public input?
It would be before. Thanks for the question, actually. It would be, at least for the next meeting, it would be Friday, February 6th at 4 p.m. You got feedback? March. You got me. March 6th at 4 p.m. If we receive that, then we can have that hit the agenda for March 11th.
for members of the public present and online, once you do receive that, it should be in the next few days or so, something like that.
Yeah.
Please, if you have any concerns or questions about the budget, please feel free to email any of us or the staff, or come in the office and ask your questions. It'd be very much appreciated, because if we don't get input and you have an issue with it, sometimes we just don't know if no one tells us. So we would really sincerely appreciate people to look through that and see, hey, why is this budget line this, or what's going on here? The more public involved with our budgeting process for the fiscal year, the better. And the chance to change that is prior to March 6th, you said.
The best opportunity for, yes, it's okay until council adopts the bylaws, like, yeah, technically it's open still.
Okay.
But yeah, the next opportunity, March 6th.
Perfect.
Two quick ones.
Go ahead.
That's okay. Recognizing Mayor Beach's absence this evening, I'm sure she would thank all present or all that involved for the Family Day event that was held a couple of weeks back.
Oh, that's right.
It was well attended, and a lot of fun was had by those that joined, especially Jimmy and Chef. But the other item is something that developed today. The Regional District Board was just getting through some of its budgets for some of its regional functions. And there's a good conversation about regional rec and culture today at the RD board. And Mayor Beach was, obviously present at that meeting all day today, but there's a good conversation about potentially increased contributions to the city of Dawson Creek through the rec function. But the regional board elected to not go that way this year, but to embark on a process or a conversation to analyze that going forward. So just wanted to share that with you guys.
Is that the report that the city of Dawson Creek said that anyone who didn't live in Dawson lived in Coos?
No, this is a different assumption. Basically, it was I think a 70-30 split, outlying areas to the city of Dawson Creek. It was reviewing who uses Dawson Creek facilities. All kinds of interesting fairness conversations stemming from that. But
Well, I've been in there and they never carded me, so.
yeah. No, so it was interesting, but it appears that the status quo will hold for this coming year.
Fair enough. All right. Councilor Rabble, one more?
Sorry, just through you, Chair, to clarify there, that's the implications of the regional recreational transfers that Coos Coupee has committed to. The liability of that is the same as last year regarding our budget. We don't have to worry about it for 2026.
That's correct. Some of the debt for the multiplex is maturing, I think in a phased fashion over the next couple of years. So there might be eventual net decreases seen for residents.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's also slightly conflating things, because the multiplex debt is distinct from the recreation function. But based on the context of the conversation that the board had today,
I also want to be clear that that's not the village's debt.
no, that's correct. Yeah, it's village contribution, or rather area contributions to that.
Fair enough. All right. We actually have public here today, so if there are any questions from the public regarding items that were on the agenda, now's the chance. Okay. That's an easy question, Gary. You could grill me right now if you want.
Not a question, but a statement.
Go for it.
You guys talking about the maple trees.
Yeah.
So we ourselves have planted a few in the last 10 years and dedicated them to people that have passed within our company. You guys are saying about trees being taken down, people are upset about that. That can be a flip side. They plant a tree and you dedicate it to somebody who has passed in the community.
Oh, that's a really good idea. Because we could plant trees and dedicate it to members that have contributed to it.
We put a rock or a placard with a rock in front of the tree.
That's a good idea.
It helps people feel better about you taking down the tree.
Yeah. We have a lot of very dedicated volunteers in this community for the museum and the senior center and the food bank. That would be good to do, yeah. Go ahead.
Acting Mayor, that might be a good note for, you guys have an item on the economic development work plan this summer for downtown spruce up, so that might be a good thing to flag for the working group that's gonna identify tasks to spruce up downtown.
Oh, we could even put that in the Village Voice, potentially, be like nominate someone in the village to have a tree in their honor. Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, anyways, go ahead, Councilor Rebel.
Not to tempt problems here, not to put more policies out there, but hypothetically, if we were to develop a policy around in memoriams, right, that new village assets could actually have, placards or in memoriams attached to them, like a proper way of proceeding with that, so that it's consistent and ongoing. I'm wondering what the burden of that would be and what the timeline would be, hypothetically.
I'd have to, I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Yeah, so-
Often, there's some communities that do a recognition policy, you'll see benches in communities, you'll see trees and others, and sometimes there's the opportunity for folks to purchase nameplates to place on benches. Gets to be, I can't really comment on the staff time involved, because it could vary widely depending on how much you guys wanted to do. Sometimes there's a dedicated time frame for which recognition will last. This being indefinitely sometimes leads to upset if circumstances change. But
I like the idea of doing that. Forgive me here for asking a procedural question. Would it be inappropriate of me to make a motion so that when we do the trees, and we're looking into that through the economic development process, which is grant funded, that we do dedicate the trees, or that staff look into the ability to do that? Yeah.
Yeah, there's two ways you can do it. One, you can always ask me to bring you back some more information. Another option could be that you could flag this as like a recommendation to the Main Street revitalization kind of group, because then they can just take it, talk about the idea, see what's reasonable to achieve, and then that'll be presented back to council.
I'll make the motion that council recommends to staff to look into dedicating the new trees to members of the community
Are we doing that through the city?
through the Main Street Revitalization Project.
Yeah, through the economic stuff.
Is there a seconder on that?
I second.
Everyone seconded it. Jimmy, who did it first?
That's all right.
Jimmy seconded it too.
Jimmy. Hey, any discussion on that?
Let's see,
Yeah, let's see it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, there we go. Unanimous and carried. Any other good comments from the public?
About 3 chairs over.
Seeing none, I will adjourn, or I'll recess the open portion of the meeting for 10 minutes.
And should we move into?
Well, let's go into, we'll go into camera and then I'll recess and then, okay.
We can't.
No, we
Well,
can't go into camera with public
motion
here.
to-
No, and you can move the motion and then have the recess afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll recommend that council close the meeting to the general public pursuant to section 91D and K of the community charter as subject matter relates to the security of property of the municipality and negotiations related discussions representing the proposed provision of municipal service that are at the preliminary stages that in the view of council could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if were held in public at this time.
Second.
Okay, discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
I will during the open portion of the meeting and table for 10 minutes. The recess. Not table. Lay on the table for 10 minutes.
Yeah, very good.